They came without a sound. No warning, no flash, it's just a slow-moving shadow that stretched across the sky like a hand squeezing Earth's light away. People looked up, first in curiosity, then in terror. The largest spaceship humanity had ever seen hovered over the Atlantic Ocean, wide enough to cast darkness on 3 continents at once. Cities lost power. Communications satellites dropped offline. The ocean shifted as if the moon itself had been pulled off course. Humanity for all. Its advances stood still. They had no idea what this thing was, only that it was not human and that it was angry. Then came the voice, cold, robotic, unforgiving. Every screen on Earth lit up with the same message. Phones, televisions, billboards, and even digital watches all displayed the same symbol, a glowing triangle made of stars, pulsing slowly. Then a face appeared. It wasn't human. Its skin was metallic black, with lines of blue light running down its cheeks. Its eyes were like burning coins, emotionless. Behind it, others stood in silence. Soldiers, slaves, nobody knew. The face spoke, its voice translated perfectly into every language, but somehow still carried a sense of threat that made people shiver. People of Earth. You are a loud, unstable, violent species. We are the Empire. We're order. Your noise threatens the balance of the galaxy. Your presence has been allowed until now, but the time has come. You will submit. You will kneel. Or you will be erased. All across Earth, people watched in silence. Soldiers gripped weapons. Presidents reached for secure phones. Parents held their children. In that one moment, the world was united not in hope, but in shared dread. Voice continued. You have 1 Earth hour to reply. The galaxy watches your answer. Then the screen went black. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, in the control room of the United Nations in New York, chaos broke out. Leaders shouted. Scientists scrambled to scan the ship. Generals asked for permission to launch missiles, but no one had a real target. The ship was so large, so far advanced, that anything humanity did would likely bounce off like stones on a battleship. In the confusion, a young systems tech named Rico Dean sat at his terminal, his eyes wide. He was nobody special, just a low-level coder assigned to monitor comms traffic. But something strange caught his attention. A signal, buried beneath the Empire's broadcast frequency. It wasn't encrypted. It wasn't coded. It was a simple file, small and harmless. Out of curiosity, and maybe because the world was ending, Rico clicked it. On his screen a video popped up. It was a dancing banana, sunglasses, big smile, arms waving.
Oh.
A ridiculous song played in the background, something that looped over and over again. You can't scare me, I'm just a banana. Rico blinked. He didn't laugh, not at first. He stared at it. Then slowly, despite himself, he smiled, and then he laughed, loud, real, honest laughter. For the first time in what felt like forever. Around him, no one noticed. Too busy panicking.
Rico glanced around the room, then looked back at the file.
And an idea, insane, stupid, perfect, lit up. In his brain like lightning, he opened the main comms system. It wasn't secure, not really. Everything was down, including standard firewalls. The Empire had hijacked Earth's signal grid, but Rico had something else. A relic of the past, an old analog uplink system, forgotten and untraceable. He connected it, dragged the banana file in, took a deep breath, and he hit broadcast. For 2 full seconds, nothing happened. Then every screen across Earth and across the Empire's viewing channels lit up again. This time, not with fear, but with a banana, dancing, wiggling, laughing, singing. The same ridiculous loop. You can't scare me. I'm just a banana. In the Empire ship, silence fell. The High Command stared at their own holoscreens, mouths slightly open. The Emperor of Silence, the Master of Fear, the one who ruled through control, watched as a yellow fruit danced on his screen. Across the galaxy, billions watched. Slaves, soldiers, civilians, on mining colonies, on prison planets, on dry trade. Worlds, they all saw it, and many laughed. Just a little. Back on Earth, Rico was dragged away from his terminal by security. But by then, it didn't matter. The file had gone viral faster than anything in history. It spread to every known planet. People saved it, shared it, remixed it. In less than an hour, there were versions with different languages, styles, backgrounds. One alien world added tribal drums. Another created an opera version. And just like that, Earth had answered. Not with fear, but with humor. The Empire responded quickly, furious. Within minutes, a second broadcast was sent, this time with shouting. Threats, promises of death. The Emperor's voice boomed across space, promising to burn Earth to ash. But no one was listening anymore, because someone had made a version of the Emperor's speech, remixed into a rap, and it was #1 on 6 planets, from Earth's slums to the high towers of alien capitals. Laughter began to grow. Small at first, nervous, but then loud, deep, defiant. Because if Earth had taught the galaxy anything in that moment, it was this. Laughter was stronger than fear. The Empire wanted obedience, but humanity had already started a different kind of war, a war of mockery, a voice, of creativity, and what came next would shake the stars. The Empire had expected Earth to beg, to cry, to tremble under the weight of a warship that could slice the moon in half. What it didn't expect, what no civilization in the known galaxy had ever dared, was for an entire planet to laugh in. Its face, the banana video, was only the beginning. Not with war plans, not with government speeches, but with memes. Thousands of them. Videos, joke remixes, parody news, fake Empire fashion shows. Someone even made a game where players slapped an Emperor emoji every time it screamed kneel. It was stupid. It was childish. It was perfect. What started as laughter quickly became a shield, then a weapon, on the other side of the galaxy. The Empire High Command tried to erase the virus from their grid, but it was too late. Human-made jokes had found cracks in their system. Memes slipped between firewalls. Jokes piggybacked off military signals. Earth's data swarm had evolved into something even AI couldn't predict. Chaotic human creativity. And it spread. Fast, in Sector 18. A mining colony of the alien race called the Bracker had been under Empire rule for 100 years. Their voices were muted, their culture stripped. But when a young Bracker miner saw a meme of the Emperor falling, off a hover thrown into a pool of whipped cream, he laughed for the first time in his life. Not just laugh, snorted, loudly. The guard assigned to watch the miners froze in shock, and then ... he laughed too. The next day, the entire colony refused to show up for work. Instead, they painted banana cartoons on the walls of the mining tunnels and blasted Earth music from stolen coms. The Empire responded with threats. The Bracker miners replied with a remix of the Emperor's angry speech, adding fart noises at key moments. It was the galaxy's first recorded comedy rebellion. Back on Earth, governments were confused. The United Nations had declared a state of emergency. Military leaders were preparing for full annihilation. And yet people ignored the panic and kept creating jokes. The hacker group, now calling themselves the Clowns, had taken full credit for the first banana video, and now they were building something new. Operation Raffle, or Rage Over Fear launch. Their plan was simple. Hack every major signal relay in the known galaxy, take control of Empire broadcasting satellites, and turn them into 24/7 comedy streams. You're not just jokes, but symbols of resistance. Songs, raps, puppet shows, satire, anything. That exposed the Empire's fear tactics as exactly what they were: weak, ridiculous, and desperate. Many on Earth thought it was madness. But Maya Jong, former general in Earth's Space Command, disagreed. She watched it all from an old military bunker deep under Greenland. Tired, forgotten, left out of the new chain of command until now. Maya had seen real war. And now, for the first time, she saw something better. She leaned over her station, voice calm but sharp, loud enough to shake planets. The clowns heard her. They launched the first wave of signal hacks within hours. On the Empire capital planet, a sleek city built from dark metal and silence, panic had begun to spread. Not on the streets, which were still locked in strict control, but in the command centers, in the meeting halls, in the Emperor's palace itself, because something impossible had happened. Empire soldiers were laughing, not in public, never where a camera could see, but in private, when they thought no one was watching. Some hid small chips with downloaded Earth content. Others whispered joke lines to each other when they passed in hallways. A few high-ranking officers even shared an animated short where the Emperor got dunked on by a grandma in a wheelchair. That one became so popular it spread through the military faster than any official order the Emperor knew. He raged. He ordered purges, arrests, total memory wipes of infected personnel, but it was too late. You can erase orders. You can kill rebels, but you can't unhear a joke. You can't forget how it made you feel. The Empire had demanded silence for so long it had forgotten the one truth that Earth never lost. Laughter is freedom's first sound. The tipping point came when Earth managed to hijack the galaxy's largest broadcast tower, a station orbiting the twin moons of Norvell Prime, where Empire messages were beamed to over 70 star systems. Nobody knew how the clowns did it, but when the station flipped, it replaced the Empire's speech on galactic order and submission with an Earth video titled 10 Ways the Emperor is Like a Screaming. Number 6 will shock you. The galaxy lost its mind. Millions tuned. And millions laughed, and from that laughter, the spark became fire. Small rebellions lit up across the stars, not with guns, with loudspeakers, with fireworks, with flash mobs dancing in the streets wearing banana masks. On the desert world of Quirin, schoolchildren formed a parade of fake emperors riding inflatable cows. On the icy moon of Vecker 7, a group of slaves hijacked a work drone and made it do the cha-cha while blasting. Earth jazz. The Empire sent ships. But what do you shoot? When the enemy is a song, Earth had done what no fleet, no weapon, no coalition could. It made the galaxy feel alive again. It wasn't over. The Empire still had power, still had armies, still had ships with enough firepower to erase continents. But something deep had shifted. The galaxy no longer feared Earth. They admired it. Not because of strength, because of spirit. Because Earth had looked at a monster and laughed. And monsters, no matter how big, don't know what to do when their fear no longer works. In the darkness between stars, rebellion brewed, and the clowns prepared their next move, because the war had changed, and the punchline was only getting started. In the cold vacuum of space, the Empire built a machine they believed would finally silence Earth, not with bombs, not with lasers, but with something far worse. It was called the Mood Reaper, and it had only one purpose: erase joy. It was shaped like a black teardrop, the size of a mountain, and glowed with purple energy that shimmered like burning sadness. The Empire's scientists scolded minds from worlds where art had been banned, had spent decades studying laughter. They dissected joy like it was a virus. They wanted to know why humans laughed in the face of fear. They believed if they could kill laughter, they could kill resistance. And now they had built a weapon that could do exactly that. When deployed, the Mood Reaper sent out a pulse, silent, invisible, and soul deep. It didn't damage buildings. It didn't melt skin. Just turned off the light inside people. The first test was on the moon of Sorel 5, a colony known for its music and dancing markets. Within 10 seconds of the Reaper's pulse, all movement stopped. Songs halted mid-note. Faces dropped. Instruments fell to the ground. The people didn't cry. They didn't scream. They just stared into nothing. Empty, broken. And so the Empire sent it to Earth. The Mood Reaper entered orbit quietly. No warnings, no threats, just a silent black dot above the sky. Earth's telescopes spotted it too late. Satellites went blind. Instruments failed. And for the first time in days, the laughter stopped. In Los Angeles, the music that had flooded. The streets faded. In Rio, dancers on rooftops slowed to a confused walk. In Cairo, street painters paused mid-stroke. Unsure why their joy felt heavy, the Reaper's pulse had begun. Inside an underground control room in Iceland, Maya Jong slammed her fist on the table. "It's begun," she said, watching brainwave monitors across the globe flatline on the joy scale. Her team didn't speak. Their chests were tight. Something inside them felt wrong, as if a storm had passed through their hearts and stolen color from everything in a darkened New York apartment. Couch. His phone, once a beacon of chaotic joy, lay silent. No new memes, no new songs, just silence. Even his dinosaur hoodie felt dull. The world wasn't panicking. It wasn't crying. It was going quiet, and that was worse than any war. But Earth was not finished, because deep in the heart of Nigeria, in a tiny room filled with wires, speakers, and old audio gear, a girl named Zany sat alone with headphones over her ears. She had been blind since birth, never seen a meme, never watched the banana dance, but she felt things, through sound, through rhythm, through vibration. Her gift was simple. She could hear moods, and she heard the silence, creeping across Earth like a fog, but unlike the others. She didn't freeze. She whispered into her recorder, "They're stealing the beat." But I still remember the rhythm. With trembling fingers, she hit record. What Zani created was not a joke, was not a meme. It was something deeper. A beat. Slow at first. Just a hum, a pulse. A rhythm that reminded you of heartbeat and breath and rain on the rooftop when you're 5 and not afraid. Then came a bass. Then a clap. Then her voice, not singing, laughing. A soft, warm laugh. The kind of laugh that heals something in you. The kind of laugh you hear from someone who has seen pain, but chooses joy anyway. She called it the Unbreakable track. She uploaded it to the ClownNet. No one noticed at first. But then, someone played it, and something strange happened. In Rio, a child tapped his fingers on the floor again. In Paris, a woman swayed in her kitchen without knowing why. In Tokyo, a delivery driver nodded his head, slowly to a rhythm that wasn't on any channel. Zani's beat had slipped through the Reaper's silence, and the world began to move again. Maya Jong got the file 30 minutes later. She didn't understand the rhythm. She felt the shift. She looked at her texts. "Loop it," she said. "But it's just one track. Loop it. Broadcast it. Everywhere." Within minutes, Earth's towers, hidden satellites, and ClownNet underground streams all synced to one signal. Zani's laugh, and the Reaper noticed. Its sensors screamed. I'm slow. I would I'm so I when was no I was ma disa so was do the lo do out well and for the first time in its cold, cruel life, it felt something confusion. It sent another pulse. Stronger, wider, meaner. But Zani's beat adapted. Human DJs joined in from Berlin, Accra, and Sydney. They twisted the rhythm, layered jokes inside sound waves, mixed laughter into every snare drum. They turned sadness into sound armor, and the Reaper. Cracked above Earth, the Empire ship holding the Reaper began to spark. It had never faced resistance, never imagined joy could fight back, and now it was overloaded. Laughter wasn't a virus. It was a cure. The Reaper shuddered. It sent out a final pulse, and exploded, a silent burst of purple flame. A quiet death, a failed weapon, the Empire's greatest anti-laughter machine, was beaten by a blind girl's laugh in a world that refused to stay silent. Back on Earth, the change was instant. Rico jumped from his couch and screamed with joy. Maya smiled so hard it hurt. Across every continent, people danced again. The memes returned. But now they were louder, brighter, funnier. A new one showed the Reaper edited into a TikTok dance battle and losing badly, and in a quiet room. Zani took off her headphones and whispered, "Told you? They can't delete the funny." The Empire was silent for a full day after that. No orders, no broadcasts, not even threats, because they knew something terrifying now. Earth's laughter wasn't just noise, it was resistance, and it couldn't be deleted. High above the ruined moons of Sector 17, deep within the sleek heart of the Empire's core fleet, General Varrock Threx sat alone in his chamber. He wore the full silver armor of a supreme enforcer, sharp-edged and polished to perfection, but tonight he felt smaller inside it. Out him, walls glowed with shifting maps of rebellion. Bright lights flickered where Empire control had once been absolute. Now, those lights dimmed, blinked out, and in their place were strange signals, Earth songs, looping memes, comedy skits in alien dialects. Entire systems had stopped broadcasting Empire doctrine, started sharing Earth's noise. For a species that ruled by fear, there was nothing more dangerous than laughter. And Varric, unlike most of his peers, understood that too well. He had been raised by the Empire, trained in silence, shown how to destroy voices, not listen to them. But over the past week, something inside him had begun to crack. It began with a file, a joke badly translated into galactic high tongue. He didn't laugh at first, he didn't know how, but he read it again, then a third time. Something strange stirred in his chest, a flicker of warmth. A thought that maybe fear wasn't the only tool in the galaxy, that perhaps the Empire hadn't built Pythonly obedience. Then came the Reaper's failure. And now, even the most loyal soldiers whispered behind closed doors. They didn't ask, how do we stop Earth? Anymore? They asked. What if Earth is right? Varrock stood, removed his helmet, walked toward the sealed broadcast console in his chamber device used only for official one-way Empire transmissions. He entered an override code reserved for planetary conquest declarations and typed something new. Not an order. Not a threat. A message to Earth. On Earth. In a hidden base below the ice fields of Antarctica, Maya Jung was running on less than 2 hours of sleep. Global resistance communications were flaring up non-stop. Reports came in from all over the galaxy. Laughter parties on moon colonies, Empire flags being turned into toilet paper memes, even alien poetry slams where every poem ended in banana. But amidst all the chaos, one signal broke through. Encrypted, heavy frequency marked. Empire command. Urgent, not a trap. Maya almost didn't open it, but when she did, the entire control room fell silent, because on the screen stood General Varric Threx, the face of terror in dozens of planetary conquests, a name that children across the stars were taught to fear, and he looked tired. His voice was steady but not cold. It held weight and something else, doubt. People of Earth, my name is Varric Threx, Supreme General of the Third Outer Fleet. I have committed acts of silence against worlds you will never know. I believed fear kept peace. I believed laughter was chaos. I was wrong. Behind him, the room flickered with captured Earth transmissions, dancing humans, absurd dog memes, a cat in space boots singing into a hairbrush. You did what no one has done in 1,000 years. You made the galaxy feel again. You laughed in the face of our darkness. And now, the Empire trembles. He paused. I offer you this transmission not as surrender, but as warning. There is one more weapon. 1. The Emperor has hidden even from most of us. It is not a bomb, it is a virus. A memory killer. Maya leaned forward, heart pounding, deletes identity, culture, names, The place is where laughter begins. They plan to unleash it next. Not to kill you, but to erase who you are. The screen blinked once, then continued. I will send you the location of the memory core. I cannot destroy it alone. I can help you reach it, if you trust me. Then, before cutting transmission, Varrock said 5 words that no one in the Empire had dared to say aloud in centuries. I want to hear more jokes. And then, silence. The clowns were the first to react. Rico Dean, now fully back online, and acting as their unofficial DJ leader, spun around in his chair and said, either that guy's serious, or we just got rickrolled by the most dangerous man in space. Maya didn't laugh, but she nodded. We're sending a response. A young coder blinked. You mean an attack plan? Maya shook her head. No, something stronger, within. The hour, General Varrock received a signal back. Encrypted, human-coded. The file was titled, after_protocol_alpha. For when you regret everything, he opened it at first. Nothing then. Music, not loud, not wild, just soft piano. Ain't than the sound of children laughing. Earth children, not in fear, just pure, unfiltered joy. Then came a human voice, female, gentle. Welcome to the other side, General. Here's your first lesson. Knock, knock, and then a pause. Varrock frowned. He hadn't studied this. A second voice answered, Who's there? Interrupting banana. Another pause. Then interru banana ha ha ha. And it hit him. It wasn't just the joke. It was the pause, the build-up, the unexpectedness. Varrock Threx, the breaker of worlds, laughed. It was rough, ugly, more like a bark than a giggle. But it was real. And alone in his chamber, he covered his face and wept. Not from sadness, from release. Back on Earth, Mia Jung turned to her team. Prepare the ship, she said. We're going to that core. But the location's deep in Empire territory, Rico warned. It could be suicide. Maya smiled. Then we bring a joke so strong, it'll kill the Emperor's last weapon before it fires. The crew looked at each other, and they started to laugh. That night, across Earth and half the galaxy, a new meme exploded. A photo of General Varrock in his armor, holding a banana caption he used to conquer worlds. How he opens knock-knock jokes. It hit 900 million views before sunrise, and somewhere deep in Empire space, a mask had fallen, and in its place was the beginning of change. The Empire's memory weapon lay hidden on a forgotten moon, buried deep within a dark nebula in Quadrant Zephyr. The moon had no name on star charts, no natural light, and no organic life, at least, not anymore. Once a garden world, full of forests and freshwater seas. But the Empire had drained it, stripped it, and turned it into a silent fortress. Inside that fortress was the core, a massive machine designed not to destroy bodies, but to erase stories, languages, songs, childhood memories, culture, a galaxy-wide reset button, and now Earth was going to destroy it. The strike team was small, just 12 people, soldiers, hackers, linguists, and one blind girl named Zani, who still hummed the beat that had broken the Mood Reaper. She claimed she could hear where the memory pulse was strongest. And at the center of the team was Maya Jung, cold-eyed.com. Focused and beside her stood a former enemy, General Varrock Threx, wearing modified armor with a bright yellow banana sticker slapped on the chest by Rico Dean, who now worked as Mission comes from orbit. Their ship was silent as it cut through the black storm around the moon. No light, no radar. They moved like ghosts. Maya stood at the front, gripping the railing. If the core activates before we reach it, she said, we don't just lose Earth, we lose everything that makes us who we are. No one answered. They all understood. They were not fighting for land, they were fighting for memory itself. Landing was easy. Too easy. There were no turrets. No alarms. The outer halls of the facility were empty. Silent. The walls were covered in smooth black panels that reflected no light. Zani walked ahead, unafraid, her fingers tracing vibrations in the air. After 10 minutes, She stopped. Something's wrong, she whispered. There are minds here. But they don't know they're alive. Before anyone could respond, a door hissed open. Bright white light flooded the corridor, and then they saw them. Children, dozens of them, alien, human, mixed. All dressed in gray. All standing in perfect lines, staring with blank eyes. No blinking, no speaking. Zani gasped and dropped to her knees. They've been wiped, she said, their minds. They've lost their laughter. Maya stepped forward slowly. They guards. Varric shook his head. No, they're fuel. The room froze. The Empire learned, he said, voice tight, that the easiest way to kill a culture is to erase it while it's still learning. These children are from conquered worlds. They're raised here, disconnected from their people, their language, their art, until the machine feeds on what's left, and then they become vessels. For what? Maya asked. Varric looked away. Nothing, just silence. Zani stood. No, not silence. Not if I can reach them. She stepped into the light. The others called for her, warned her, but she ignored them. She walked right up to a small girl with silver skin and blank blue eyes. Zani knelt down and whispered, "Knock, knock." Nothing. She tried again. Softer. Knock, knock. The girl blinked. Faint, small, but it was a blink. Who's there? The girl whispered, voice barely a breath. Zani smiled wide. Banana. The girl tilted her head. Banana who? Interrupting. Banana. Pause. Interrupt. Banana. Huh. For a split second, the girl smiled, a flicker. But it was enough because the other children turned. They watched. Curious, Zani stood and repeated it. A louder knock knock. Dozens of voices replied in eerie unison. Who's there? The others stepped forward, joining her, telling jokes, stinging earth jingles. Rico piped music through the ship's comes and into the base. Maya tossed glow sticks into the air.
Start.
A dance circle, she shouted, and suddenly, the Empire's most protected room, the heart of its darkest. Weapon became a party. The children began to laugh. It was weak at first, then stronger, then wild. The walls vibrated. Sirens screamed. Deep in the core of the moon, the memory machine began to malfunction because it had no protocol for joy. It didn't know how to override a joke. The lights flickered. Sparks flew from the ceiling. Zani raised her hands. They're waking up. The core had one final defense. The floor split open. A shape rose from the Depthspark machine. Part AI, part forgotten nightmare. It had no name, only a voice made of static and steel. You will forget. Varric stepped forward. No, he growled. I remember now. He opened a case strapped to his chest. Inside was a small holopad. He pressed play, and the Emperor's voice, from a meme remix months ago, blared through the room. I am the infart. Noise kneel. Chicken cluck. The children exploded. Into giggles, the machine stuttered. Zani threw her arms wide. Log. Harder. Maya launched a pulse grenade straight into the core. It hit, exploded, and the machine screamed. Not a death scream, eh? Laugh twisted. Glit. The memory virus was dead. Outside, the storm cleared. Stars returned to the sky. The ship lifted off, leaving behind the broken moon. Now echoing with the sound of children learning how to giggle again, back on Earth. As the team landed, a new viral video swept the networks. General Varric, wearing sunglasses, banana sticker shining, telling his first knock-knock joke. It wasn't good, but he tried, and when the galaxy saw it, they didn't laugh at him. They laughed with him, because sometimes a joke isn't about being funny. It's about saying, I'm here. I remember. In the heart of the Imperial throne world, in a palace that touched the clouds and cast shadows over 1 billion lives, Emperor Kael'Varos sat in silence. He had ruled the galaxy for over 200 years longer than most civilizations had existed. Sustained by gene treatments, by fear, by silence. He wore robes made of midnight light. His eyes glowed with cold fire, and his voice, when used, could make species kneel without question. He had crushed empires, burned worlds. He had never smiled. But now, something was wrong. For the first time in his rule, he felt uncertain. The reports had become too many to ignore, systems refusing tribute, fleet captains defecting, soldiers singing Earth songs inside their barracks, children drawing bananas on military, statues. Even the Mood Reaper, his most feared creation, had exploded over Earth. The virus core was destroyed. The core moon itself, laughing. And worst of all, General Threx, his most brutal enforcer, had betrayed him and was now a viral meme. The Emperor watched the footage on loop. Threx telling a knock-knock joke to a classroom full of alien children. It had already been translated into 3,000 languages and reposted across 400 million channels. And people didn't just watch it, they felt it. Once terrifying name had become a joke and a hero. The Emperor gritted his teeth. They are tearing down the idea of power itself. He walked into his chamber of silence, where sound never entered and thought echoed forever. There, he activated the Neuro-Echoa, crown-like device that played signals directly into the mind. He inserted Earth's top 100 viral jokes from the last 2 months, not to enjoy, to understand, to dismantle what made them dangerous. But something unexpected happened. A joke played. Something simple. From a child. Why did the alien eat the computer? It's 'cause it wanted some space bites? The Emperor didn't react. But inside his chest, something twitched. Another joke followed. Then a Rix. Then a music video of cats dancing to edit it. Screams of the Emperor's own speeches. It was ridiculous. It was meaningless. And yet, the corner of his lip moved. A twitch-dotted glitch. A single, almost dash smile. The neural crown short dash circuited. Sparks flew. The Emperor collapsed to his knees, breathing hard. Because for the first time in 2 centuries, he almost laughed across the stars. Earth wasn't slowing down. They weren't rebuilding fleets. They weren't launching nukes. They were sending stand-up comics into orbit, broadcasting jokes in alien dialects, training galactic comedians through a new program called Laugh You. Their most powerful weapon wasn't a bomb. It was a punchline, and its payload was Hope Maya. Zhang stood in Earth's orbital command center, watching the data streams. She turned to Rico Dean, who had become the clown's voice of the galaxy. Ready for Phase 7? Rico smirked. Operation? Final gag? No, Maya said. Something better. She looked at the screen showing the Imperial Palace. We're sending him someone? Rico blinked. The Emperor? You want to send him a message? Maya smiled. We're sending him a comedian. 3 days later, a sleek ship entered the no-fly zone over the Imperial throne world. The Empire scrambled fighters, but the ship carried no weapons. Only one passenger, Tariq El-Hazan, Earth's most viral comedian. He walked into the palace dressed in casual jeans and a t-shirt that read, Galactic Empires hate this one trick. The guards didn't shoot. They didn't speak. They just watched. Because rumor had already spread. The Emperor had invited him. Inside the throne room, the air was cold and sharp. Echoes of power lingered in every shadow. Tariq stood in front of the throne, and the Emperor stared. You're here, Kel said. Tariq grinned. Yup, and you're shorter than your holograms. The guard gasped. Tariq shrugged. Relax, I'm a professional. He cleared his throat. No lightsabers, no space battles, no tragic backstories, just jokes. That's all we've got. Guess what? They work. The Emperor didn't blink. Tariq stepped closer. You rule with silence, fear, control, but laughter. That's the one thing you can't control. You can't predict it, can't force it. You either laugh or you don't. He pointed to the throne. That seat? It's heavy, I get it. A lot of pressure. But maybe, just maybe, it's time for you to sit down. You laugh. A pause. A long, dangerous pause, then. The Emperor exhaled slowly and asked, why did the human bring a banana into space? Tariq smiled wide. I don't know. Why? Kale Varos's ruler of 1,000 systems, Lord of Silence, said, because he wanted to slip into orbit. It wasn't a good joke. It barely made sense. But Tariq laughed. Not because it was funny, but because it wasn't. And the Emperor laughed too. It was dry, rusty, like metal cracking. But it was a laugh. And in that moment, something broke. Something important. Something old. The guards didn't move. The palace didn't collapse. But for the first time in the history of the Empire, the throne room echoed with joy. Back on Earth, Maya watched the footage come in. A single, shaky video leaked by the Emperor's own chamber servers. Tariq, laughing with a tyrant, a galaxy watched, and everything changed. Because if the Emperor could laugh, maybe the Empire could heal. Maybe fear was no longer enough. And maybe, just maybe, laughter had won. Across the stars, something strange was happening. Flags were coming down, not in fire, but in parade confetti. Statues weren't smashed. They were redress painted in neon colors, given cartoon eyes and silly hats. Even prisons weren't. Emptied in chaos. Prisoners walked out to the sound of street musicians and memes projected on city domes. The Empire wasn't falling apart. It was. It's coming undone with a smile. On the agricultural moon of Teleris, local soldiers laid down there. Weapons after a group of kids blasted Baby Shark from a hacked patrol drone and did the dance in full armor. On Station Thadafor, Strike Force refused to fire after someone aired a comedy roast of their commanding officer mid-battle featuring deepfakes of him singing in the shower, and in the dark cities of Volcar Prime, a place where joy had been illegal for centuries. Citizens gathered around projection screens to watch the now infamous recording, the Emperor laughing at a banana joke. It shattered something, not just fear, but belief. If the galaxy's most terrifying being could laugh, what else had they been wrong about? In Earth's orbital command center, Maya Zhang stood before a giant screen showing a heat map of joy. Yes, joy. A new algorithm tracked emotional surges across systems using smiles, memes, dance videos, laughter, uploads, and even heart rates. And for the first time since the start of galactic rule, it was brighter than war. Rico Dean walked in wearing a tinfoil crown and oversized sunglasses. Maya, he said dramatically, I'm declaring myself the meme king of Sector 8. She didn't look up. Already had one. They got overthrown by a funnier cat. Rico grinned. Fair. But before he could continue, Zany, now Earth's most valuable signal, empath rushed into the room, her eyes wide behind her audio visor. Something's wrong, she said, breathless. Something's listening. The room went quiet. Listening to what? Maya asked. Zani tapped her headset. Not us. To them, she pointed toward the outer rim of the joy map. A place called the Graven Void, a cold, forgotten part of the galaxy where no colonies survived, where even machines broke down. It had always been dark. Now it was. It's darker. No light, no signals, no jokes, Zani whispered. Now, something's waking up. Meanwhile, on the edge of the Empire, in a mining colony called Crate's Spine, children played in the ruins of an old propaganda station. They wore old soldier helmets and mimicked Earth comedians, giggling as they did. Knock-knock jokes and fake Empire voices. But deep underground, in a vault, long sealed and forgotten, something pulsed. A signal, old, hungry, wrong. It had been created. Before the Empire, by minds that believed laughter was a flaw, a noise, a weakness, a glitch in evolution. They had built a thing called the Null Seed, planted it in the farthest edge of space, and fed it every sound they silenced. Every memory they erased. Every chuckle they buried. It grew quietly, until... Now, back on Earth, Maya stared at the anomaly on the map. Joy in the galaxy was rising fast, but so was something else. A counter-frequency. One that wasn't hate, or war, or fear. It was nothing, a silence deeper than death. We thought the Empire was the worst. she said softly. But they were just noise control. This is a blackout. Varrock Threx appeared on the screen from a peaceful outpost on Drossen 3. I've seen that signal before, he said grimly. It existed in the old archives, was locked behind protocols even I couldn't access. The Emperor once said, if laughter spreads too far, something old will hear it and rise to end the noise. Rico frowned. So what? We made the galaxy too happy, and now a cosmic mood killer wants to unplug us? Zani tilted her head. It's not trying to unplug, she whispered. It's trying to consume every sound, every soul, every story. Maya stepped forward. Then we need to be louder. The response was immediate. A fleet of musical ships launched from Earth, sound cannons on their hulls. DJ pilots in the cockpits. They called themselves the Laugh Armada, and their mission was simple. Reach the edge of the graven void and make it laugh. It wasn't a joke. It was the most important battle ever fought. Their weapons were stand-up routines, beat, drops, emotional voiceovers, and looped giggles of toddlers. They flew in formation, blasting joy into the dark. But the void didn't flinch. Not yet, because it was patient, because it had waited thousands of years. But Earth had changed the rules. This wasn't just rebellion. It was reconstruction. The galaxy had stopped fearing power and started celebrating difference. On 1,000 worlds, statues of warlords were turned into chalkboards where kids drew funny faces. Languages thought extinct were turned into rap battles. Lost dances became viral trends, and the more they remembered, the more the void weakened. Just a little, just enough. Maya smiled at the data feed. The story isn't over, she said, but it's ours now. Somewhere in the deepest part of space, the void twitched. It had never heard this much laughter, and it was about to learn something the Empire never did. You can silence people, but you can't erase joy. Not forever. Not when the galaxy has finally remembered how to laugh. In the coldest edge of the known galaxy, beyond maps, beyond memory, the void stirred fully awake. It had no name, no face, no sound. It was not born. It had always been. A shadow in the shape of silence. It did not hate. It did not destroy. It simply erased. Planets, stories, species all vanished into it like dreams swallowed by morning. And now it was coming. It moved across space like a slow breath, pulling everything behind it into total nothingness. Stars dimmed. Signals died. Laughter froze mid-transmission. The brightness of a reborn galaxy began to flicker. Earth had awakened joy. But in doing so, it had also awakened the ancient enemy of joy. And now that enemy was hungry. At Earth's orbital, HQ, alarms screamed. Maya Zhang stood at the center of the war room, surrounded by blinking maps of systems going dark. One by one, no explosions, no distress signals. Just vanishing. Gone. Rico Dean slammed his fist on the table. The void isn't just moving, it's feeding on every sound, every memory. Our signals, our songs, even the memes there. Fading Zani, sitting cross-legged in the corner, her audio visor glowing, whispered softly, its consuming vibrations. Not matter. Meaning Varrock Threx's image flickered in. This is not war. This is the unmaking of the galaxy. And we are not ready. But Maya's eyes were locked on one thing, the countdown on the main screen. 3 days until Earth enters the void's reach. She turned to the room. We need to do what Earth does best. Rico blinked. You mean, eh? She nodded. We're going to throw a party so loud, so full of feeling, so stupidly human that the void can't consume it. They called it the last laugh. Every world still online was invited. Every satellite, starship, drone, space station, even old Empire listening posts was reprogrammed to act as a speaker. Across the galaxy, entire species gathered. Humans and aliens, children and elders, pirates and priests. They danced, they sang, they told bad jokes, they wept and cheered. Even the Emperor appeared live, wearing a chicken hat telling his favorite knock-knock joke to a crowd of 12. billion ships blasted music into the dark. Stand-up comics performed in orbit. Scientists read ancient poetry. While dancers floated through zero-gravity theaters, this wasn't rebellion anymore. It was a universe-wide celebration of existence itself. But at the edge, the void listened, and it pushed back. One by one, speakers failed. Signals warped. Joy turned to static. Zani clutched her head, overwhelmed. "It's learning," she cried. "It's adapting. What's finding what's real and swallowing it." In that moment, Maya made a choice. She ordered Earth's last undamaged sound ship, the Chuckle Storm, to fly directly into the heart of the void. She would go with it. So would Zani and Rico and Threx. They were the galaxy's last storytellers. And this was the final chapter. As the Chuckle Storm crossed the edge of the void, all light vanished. The ship's hull groaned. Inside, silence crept like cold fingers. One by one, sound died. Jokes stopped being funny. Memories blurred. Even fear began to fade. Only Zani remained still, eyes closed. And then she hummed. A simple, trembling tune. The same melody she'd sung as a child. As a bomb fell as the Reaper exploded. As laughter first returned to the stars, the sound didn't vanish. It cut through the dark. Maya joined her, then Rico, then Threx. In his deep, gravelly voice, sang a line from an old Earth anthem. Together, they made a song raw, unfiltered, not beautiful, not perfect, but real. And the void paused. For the first time in its eternal existence. It hesitated. Then the Chuckle Storm opened its final protocol. A weapon Earth had built not to destroy, but to remember. The core released every laugh ever, recorded from babies to soldiers, from frightened children to hopeful elders. Every sound humanity had ever made to fight despair. A tidal wave of pure, defiant joy. It hit the void like a sun exploding, and the darkness screamed not in pain, but in confusion. It didn't understand this noise, this chaos, this love, this hope. And slowly, the void began to crack, piece by piece. It didn't die, but it withdrew, back into its ancient sleep, because now it had tasted something it couldn't digest. The galaxy had changed. The silence was no longer safe. The Chuckle Storm limped home. Systems failing. Hull scorched, but its signal remained, a beacon across the stars, not of war, not of dominance, but of human defiance through joy. On Earth, new monument was built, not of stone, but of light and sound. It played random laughter on loop. It showed dancing aliens, kids telling dumb jokes, dogs in spacesuits. Elderly rebels rapping at its base was a simple plaque. Here stands the moment we stopped trying to survive, started trying to live. And somewhere, on a quiet world in a quiet sector, small child asked their parent, "What's a joke?" And the parent smiled and whispered, "It's a tiny weapon against the dark."